She thought you'd always be there, always answering, always showing up, always caring. No matter how little she gave in return, you were consistent, present, loyal. And for a time, she got used to that, maybe even began to take it for granted. But here's what many don't realize: when a man gives quietly, he also leaves the same way. No big speech, no warning, just a shift in energy, and then he's gone. That's when it starts: the late night thoughts, the flashbacks, the sudden awareness that the man she dismissed has changed, not just moved on, but evolved. A man who's done being taken for granted doesn't announce it. He simply stops explaining, stops proving, and steps back, not to punish, but to protect his peace. And that silence, it leaves a deeper mark than words ever could. In this video, we're going to explore what really happens when you stop showing up for someone who failed to see your value, why your absence begins to echo louder than your presence ever did, and how slowly but inevitably she starts to miss the man she once believed would always stay. Let's dive in, because if you've ever felt unseen or unappreciated, this message is for you. When the familiar becomes distant, number one, when the familiar becomes distant, she thinks you're still orbiting, still within reach. That if she ever needed a hit of validation or a moment of reassurance, she could find you right where she left you. But time has a way of revealing truths. And over time, your presence fades. The comforting good morning texts stop arriving, the thoughtful check-ins, the random calls just to hear her voice. They're no longer part of her daily reality, and that's when something inside her shifts. She may not admit it at first. She'll pretend she's unbothered, that your silence means nothing, but it does. Because for the first time, she's not sure if you're still there. The man she once took for granted, the one who is always available, always trying, always present, has gone quiet, and not in a cold or angry way. Number your silence doesn't scream. It just lingers, calm, collected, powerful. You see, a stoic man doesn't pull away out of spite. He doesn't disappear to create drama. He retreats for something deeper, for peace, for clarity, for alignment with what truly matters. And when a man steps back, not to manipulate, but to center himself, it creates a presence that's even stronger than proximity. You're no longer chasing her energy, you've redirected it toward your own growth, your own values. That's when she starts to feel the difference. Maybe she notices she hasn't laughed the same since you left. Maybe she sees your name pop up in an old playlist, or catches herself wondering if you'd still answer if she called. It's subtle at first, but it builds. The absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. And that's the paradox: when you were always there, she forgot your worth. But now that you've stepped back, she's haunted by everything she overlooked. So if you're watching this and wondering if your silence has meaning, it does. A man who honors his peace will always be missed by the one who once undervalued his presence. That's the quiet power of walking away. Not to teach a lesson, but to live by one. Number two, the power of a calm goodbye. You didn't slam doors. You didn't. The power of a calm goodbye launch into long speeches. You simply stepped back with calm, quiet dignity, and that's what haunts her. Because real strength isn't shown through chaos, it's shown through composure. She expected noise, drama, a desperate attempt to change her mind. That's the script most men follow when they feel rejected or unseen. But you rewrote the story by refusing to beg for what should have been freely given: respect, effort, consistency. You didn't withdraw to make her chase you. Withdrew because you finally understood that peace is worth more than temporary attention. Now she's left with silence that speaks louder than any goodbye. And make no mistake, your calm exit didn't go unnoticed. At first, she might have even felt relieved. She thought you'd circle back like before. But as the days stretched on without your voice, your check-ins, or your presence, a different emotion crept in: doubt, regret, curiosity. She starts wondering, how is he so calm? Why hasn't he reached out? That's when the missing begins. You see, when you walk away in peace, you create contrast. She's used to men reacting, not reflecting. She's used to emotional fireworks, not emotional discipline. But your stillness, it unsettles her because it signals that you were never emotionally dependent. You were grounded, aware, and self-respecting. Like a stoic man, you didn't let your emotions rule you. You made a choice, and now that choice echoes in her mind. Think about it. How many times have people only appreciated something after it's no longer there? That's the irony of being taken for granted. Your calm goodbye becomes the very moment she realizes what she lost. Not because you forced her to see it, but because you didn't try at all. That's the paradox of presence. It's often most deeply felt once it's gone. So if you're watching this and wondering if your quiet exit had any impact, know this. The man who can walk away without needing applause or closure is the one she replays in her head long after the noise fades. That's the power of restraint. That's the art of a calm goodbye. Have you ever experienced a moment where your silence said more than words ever could? Let me know in the comments or just type, "Calm is power." I'd love to hear your thoughts. Number 3, nostalgia wakes her up. She hears a song scrolls past. A nostalgia wakes her up. Photo hears your name in a conversation, and suddenly a wave hits the way. You laughed the way you listened, the way you made her feel safe in a world that often feels chaotic. Only now it's all a memory. And here's the thing, she didn't expect to feel this. She thought she had moved on. She believed you'd always linger in the background, somehow available, somehow still affected. But now she realizes you're not. You've become silent, still unreachable in a way that makes her wonder if she ever really understood the depth of the man she once had. And it's not the silence itself that gets to her. It's what that silence holds, a stoic kind of detachment, calm, firm, unshaken by the need for closure or recognition. You didn't disappear to make a point. You stepped away because your peace meant more than trying to be understood by someone who didn't truly see you. You see, a man like you doesn't become unforgettable because of grand gestures or constant reminders. You become unforgettable because of the way you made her feel without ever having to perform. You gave her stability when the world felt uncertain. You gave her presence, not noise. A man who listens without interrupting, who shows up without needing praise, who stays calm in conflict and speaks with intention, not impulse. That kind of man doesn't just vanish from memory, he lingers in the soft spaces of the heart that words can't reach. And now, when she hears that song, when she sees something that reminds her of you, it's not just a memory. It's a realization. A realization that you were the calm in her storm, that you were the quiet strength. She didn't know she needed until she lost it, and now nostalgia becomes her teacher. It whispers what her ego once ignored. It reminds her of what was once steady, real, and rare. But you've already turned that page, not with bitterness, not with anger, but with peace, because the Stoic man doesn't cling to the past. He acknowledges it, learns from it, and moves forward. He lets his silence speak not as revenge, but as a boundary, as a reflection of inner stillness. And that's what she feels now, the echo of a man who no longer waits to be remembered. Number 4, quiet leaves. The quiet leaves the deepest mark. Deepest mark she expected you to react to, chase to question, but you didn't. You let her go without resistance. That silence, it wasn't weakness, it was clarity. It told her something that words never could, that your peace is not up for negotiation. You didn't beg for closure, you didn't demand answers. You just let her walk. And in doing so, you left behind something much more powerful than noise. Your absence wrapped in dignity, she may have felt in control. She might have even told herself that your calm meant you didn't care. But time has a way of peeling back that illusion. Days pass, then weeks, and suddenly it starts to bother her. Not because you said anything, but because you didn't. No desperate texts, no emotional outbursts, just stillness, a kind of composed quiet that begins to echo louder in her mind than any words ever could. Here's where the Stoic truth cuts deep. Real strength isn't in fighting to be understood. It's in walking away when you know your worth isn't being recognized. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And you chose not to react because you no longer needed to prove your value. And that choice, that stillness, that's what starts to eat at her. She remembers the man who used to show up, no matter what. The man who tried to fix things, to understand, to hold the connection together. But now that man has evolved. Now he guards his energy like a man who knows it's sacred. And that's when the shift begins. That's when she starts to feel the weight of what she lost. Not because you shouted, not because you explained, but because you didn't flinch. You didn't need to. So if you're watching this and you've been quiet, not out of pride, but out of self-respect, understand this. Your silence is doing more than you think. She's starting to feel it. That absence is stirring questions in her heart. Questions she never expected to ask. And that's the power of a man who doesn't chase, doesn't react, and doesn't look back. Number 5, seeing you through others. She's seeing someone new now. Seeing you through others, talking to others, laughing, smiling, telling herself she's moved on the surface. It looks like everything's fine, but underneath something's off. There's a subtle emptiness. She can't quite name, a restlessness that no conversation or attention seems to settle, because no matter how hard she tries, she can't recreate the feeling she had when she was with you. They don't ground her the same way. They don't speak with that same calm, steady presence. They try, oh, they try, They compliment her, make her laugh, keep the conversation flowing. But there's a difference, and it becomes more noticeable with every passing day without even trying. Without even being there, you've become the silent benchmark. At first, she may not fully realize it. She tells herself, this new guy checks all the boxes. Good on paper says, the right things does what he's supposed to. It all looks right, but love doesn't live on checklists. Connection doesn't grow in bullet points. And in the quiet, in between moments when her phone isn't buzzing, when the crowd fades, when she's alone with her thoughts, her mind drifts not because she wants to think of you, but because something she once had is now conspicuously missing. It's not about looks. It's not about status. It's not about who can talk the smoothest or make the grandest gestures. It's about how she felt when she was with you. Safe, seen, settled. You never had to perform. You never had to impress you. Simply showed up fully as yourself, calm, centered, and present. You brought peace into the room, not chaos. And that's what's haunting her now. Because as she tries to find that again, she starts to realize she's not comparing personalities. She's comparing presence. Your presence was different. It didn't demand attention. It commanded it quietly, authentically. And now every man she meets stands in your shadow. Even if she doesn't say it out loud, your absence lingers longer than their words. Your stillness echoes more powerfully than their noise. You've become the invisible standard etched into her memory, not by what you said, but by how you made her feel. That's the irony. What she once overlooked, what she once took for granted, is now the very thing she finds herself searching for. But not finding a stoic man doesn't chase validation. He doesn't rush to compete. He doesn't explain his value to anyone who couldn't see it the first time. As Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And that's what you did. You never had to convince her. You simply lived your truth steadily, consistently, without the need for applause, and now your absence is louder than the presence of anyone who's tried to take your place. She may never say it aloud. Pride might silence the confession, but deep down in places she won't even admit to herself, she knows you weren't just another chapter in her life. You were the turning point she didn't recognize until the page had already turned. Number 6, regret wears a subtle face. She won't say, I miss you. Not regret wears a subtle face directly, not in the way you might expect. Instead, it slips through in quieter forms, liking your old posts late at night, watching your stories without a word, casually bringing up your name in conversations, like it's just a coincidence, but you know better, that's not coincidence. That's quiet regret. You see, when a woman starts to feel the absence of the man she once took for granted, it rarely arrives with a grand admission. It comes softly masked in nostalgia, disguised as curiosity. It's a slow unraveling, a shift in the background. Suddenly, she's remembering things she once overlooked: the ease of being around you, the way you never needed to raise your voice to command respect, the calm certainty in your energy, the safety she felt but never fully appreciated. And while she revisits those memories in silence, you're not there. Not texting, not checking in, not trying to be noticed. And that's what gets to her. Not your presence, but your stillness. Because now, for the first time, she's seeing you clearly, not as the man she assumed would always be available. Not as the fallback, but as the man who, when not valued quietly, chose to walk away with his dignity intact. You didn't leave to teach her a lesson. You left because you finally started honoring your own. You didn't beg for closure. You didn't chase clarity. You didn't try to be understood. You simply detached with grace, with strength, with calm detachment, as Epictetus would say. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. That's what you've done. You focused inward on your peace, your standards, your growth, and everything else. You let it be now. When she reacts in those subtle ways, when she double taps a memory or laughs a little too hard when someone mentions you, it's not by accident, it's a residue, a longing. She can't fully express the slow burn of realization that she had something rare and let it slip. Because here's the truth. You didn't slam the door. You didn't play mind games. You didn't try to make her feel what you once felt. You just stepped back and let her feel what it's like. Without you, and in doing so, you became unforgettable. Not through words, but through the strength of your silence. That kind of presence doesn't fade. Even if she never says it out loud, she feels it. Number 7, emotional absence hits. Emotional absence hits harder, harder. You were her calm in the storm, the emotional safety net she didn't even realize she relied on. But when you detached, not angrily, just silently, something heavy replaced that comfort emptiness. She didn't expect that shift at first. It felt like freedom to her space, independence, attention from others, but slowly the silence grew loud. She noticed how her mood wasn't quite the same without your steady presence grounding her. The man she used to lean on during her anxious moments was no longer there. And it's not that you were trying to punish her number, you were simply protecting your peace. Stoicism teaches us not to tie our well being to things we can't control, including how someone treats us. You didn't beg her to stay. You didn't explain your worth. You simply stepped back and let your actions speak. And that silence, that's what started echoing in her mind. Think about it. The emotional space you once filled wasn't just about texts or dates. It was deeper than that. It was in the way you made her feel seen, safe, steady. When a woman has experienced emotional safety with a man, true, consistent, unshakable presence. It's not something she forgets easily, especially not when it disappears without drama. Now she scrolls through her phone and realizes your name isn't lighting up her screen like it used to. She reaches out to others, but none of them carry that same energy. They talk, but they don't understand her. They show up, but they don't feel like you. That's when the missing begins. Not for the idea of you, but for the version of herself that only existed around your calm. And you've grown more grounded in your silence, because the Stoic man doesn't detach out of bitterness. He detaches with clarity. He knows that emotional peace is earned, not given away to chaos. If this part of the message speaks to you, take a second and reflect. Have you become someone whose emotional absence is louder than any words? Let me know what you think in the comments below. The shift in his energy, number 8. The shift in his energy. Now your focus isn't on her anymore, not in the way it once was. Your gaze has shifted inward toward your own path, your growth, your discipline, and even though you haven't said a word, she can feel it because energy doesn't need to be announced. It speaks for itself. You're not putting on a show. You're not flaunting your transformation, but something about you has changed. And that change speaks louder than any message ever could. You're no longer emotionally available, and that lands differently, that's not a void. She knows how to fill. She notices it in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. The messages that once came at a predictable rhythm, silent, the good morning texts, the late night check-ins, the emotional availability that once surrounded her like a warm blanket gone. You haven't ghosted her. You haven't blocked her out in anger. You've just stopped orbiting her world. Your gravitational pull has returned to where it always belonged, yourself. And that's the shift she never saw coming. See, women are intuitive by nature. They don't need long conversations to know something is different. They feel it, they sense it. And when a man who once gave her his time, his presence, his loyalty starts turning all that attention inward, starts investing that same energy into his own evolution, it creates a vacuum, a quiet absence that speaks volumes. She might not reach out, she might not say a word, but she's scrolling through her phone, pausing on your name, rereading old texts, tracing the way you used to speak to her. She remembers your voice, the softness in your tone, the way you were always there, and now you're something else entirely. You've become composed, distant, anchored, and that composure, it haunts her in the still moments. But this shift you've made, it isn't bitter. It's not an act of spite or pettiness. It's rooted in principle. It's stoic, as Marcus Aurelius said. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You didn't retaliate. You didn't try to make her feel what you once felt. You simply evolved. You stopped being the man who begged to be seen, who tolerated being sidelined, who made excuses for being misunderstood. You chose peace. You chose alignment. You chose to become the kind of man who no longer needs validation to know his value. And when a man begins to align with his purpose, everything shifts. His time becomes sacred. His energy becomes selective. His presence becomes rare. And that version of you, the one that no longer chases, no longer explains, no longer waits around for someone to realize your worth, that version, that's the one she misses. Not because you crafted it for her to notice, but because it emerged the moment you stopped giving. Yourself away so easily you didn't pull back to punish her. You pulled back to find yourself. And now that you have, you're not looking back, because once you realize how powerful your stillness is, how magnetic your self-respect can be, you no longer seek closure from anyone you become. Number 9, unspoken lessons sink. Unspoken lessons sink in. In you, didn't leave her with a lecture. You didn't try to hammer your point home with words. What you left was space, a quiet, undeniable space. And in that space, she's now left to sit with the full weight of her decisions. Each unanswered message becomes more than silence. It becomes a mirror, reflecting back what she chose. Every passing day without a word from you becomes a subtle but sharp reminder of what she lost. See, the most powerful teachers aren't always the ones who raise their voices often. They are the ones who don't speak at all. They let their silence do the teaching. They reflect the truth with a stillness that can't be debated or denied. You didn't storm off demanding closure. You didn't try to convince her to see your value or explain yourself just one more time. No, you chose something far stronger. You stepped back and allowed her reality to shift in the absence of your presence, and that absence begins to echo. At first, she might have told herself it didn't matter, that maybe you were just being emotional or trying to make a point. Maybe she even believed you'd come back like before. But this time is different. As the silence stretches, the comfort she once assumed would always be there begins to feel noticeably missing. It's in the little moments when she checks her phone without knowing why, only to realize she was hoping to see your name when she hears something funny and instinctively thinks he would have laughed at that before remembering you're not there anymore. The memories start to speak in your silence, and the things she took for granted begin to sting. This is where the Stoic principle of apatheia comes in. Not cold indifference, but a calm, unshakable detachment. You didn't pull away to punish her, you pulled away to protect your peace. You embraced what Epictetus taught, that what lies outside your control isn't worth your suffering. Her realization that's no longer yours to carry, that's hers to live with now. And as the days go on, she doesn't just feel the lack of communication, she feels the quiet strength of your self-respect, the way you didn't fight for her attention, the way you didn't try to re-explain your worth or beg for understanding. You simply let go, and that kind of grace, that quiet confidence teaches more than any words ever could. So if you're sitting in your silence wondering if it even matters, know that it does. Your stillness is not emptiness. It's presence, it's power. Sometimes the loudest message you'll ever send is the one you never speak out loud. Number 10, when she finally sees. When she finally sees what she lost. What she lost by the time the realization hits, you've changed, you still remember her, but you no longer need her. And that's when she feels the loss most. Not because she can't reach you, but because she knows she no longer holds the same place in your world. You see, when a man truly lets go, not in anger, not to punish, but with quiet acceptance, something powerful happens. He reclaims himself, and that shift doesn't go unnoticed. At first, she thought your silence was a phase that you'd come back around. But as the days turned to weeks, and the weeks into distance, she could feel in her bones something began to stir in her regret. She starts revisiting old photos, scrolling through your posts like they hold the answers to questions she was too proud to ask. She laughs at a memory and then goes still, because the version of you she once had access to, the one who gave, without holding back, who stayed even when overlooked, who made her feel like home. He's gone not out of spite, but because he outgrew the space she kept trying to shrink him into. And here's what makes it hit hardest. You didn't announce the change. You didn't need to like a stoic man. You let your actions, your silence, your growth speak for you. As Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." And your bravery came in the form of release. You stopped waiting. You stopped hoping she'd understand you. Simply started living fully and without apology. Now, she sees you through the lens of distance, and through that lens, the clarity cuts deeper. You're no longer the man waiting at the emotional doorway. You've stepped into a life that doesn't revolve around proving your worth. And that's exactly what makes her miss you. So if you're there right now, walking away, rebuilding, feeling the weight of memory, remember this: she will miss you, not when you beg, not when you prove, but when you disappear from the role she once took for granted and reappear as a man who chose peace over performance. So if you find yourself standing in the midst of silence, keep conclusion. Moving forward, don't look back. Don't chase after those who chose to overlook your worth. Don't lower your voice to beg for attention or validation. That's not your path anymore. Instead, become the kind of man whose presence is felt even in his absence, the one who leaves a lasting impact, not through loud words, but through quiet power, through unwavering discipline, calm detachment, and an inner strength that doesn't need to announce itself. And if this message spoke to you, even a little, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and explore the recommended videos on your screen. There's more waiting for you. Until next time, stay grounded and stay untouchable. 3553. Now playing This Is the Moment She Knows. She Can't Control You. Stoicism. Stoic Legend. Stoic Legend. 4.8. K views 10 days ago. 7 VPH 1.1x remix shorts. Step back, stay silent, they will beg you. Stoicism. At her Stoicism. Her personal growth. Is shorts. Is short feed 337,000 views. 11 Stoic lessons to handle disrespect. Is Stoicism. 6.7K views. Why your silence isn't affecting them. Stoic strategies to regain control. Stoicism, silence, at a short, 22,000 views, 7 signs you are a highly attractive man. At Stoicism, 3.1 million views. Never stay silent in these 7 situations. Stoicism, at motivation, mindset, confidence, stoic, shorts, 512K views. The female mind exposed. 3 things she does when she's interested. It's Stoicism, motivation, shorts, 39K views, 2655. Now playing, if you notice these 8 signs, your life is about to change forever. In our Stoic philosophy wisdom. Soul 97K views 2 months ago. 4 VPH greater than 100x in Remix 941. Now playing the power of doing nothing and watching her chase. Stoicism, psychology, truth. Psychology, truth. 475 views 23 hours ago, 19 VPH remix, new 2349. Now playing the moment you go quiet, she'll start losing her mind. The Stoic couple. 60K views 2 weeks ago, 111 VPH greater than 100x, remix 4909. Now playing Don't Block Them, Don't Beg. Just do this and watch what happens. Stoicism, powerful Stoic habits, 196K views 2 months ago, 80 VPH greater than 100x, remix 2618. Now playing How to Use Dark Psychology to Make Her Want You. Stoic Wisdom, Stoic Warrior, 9.8K views 4 days ago, 168 VPH greater than 100EX, remix new 3044. Now playing Re-upload Bollywood songs on YouTube. Without copyright, make money from Hindi songs. YT method 1.5 million views. 1 year ago, 106 VPH greater than 100x, remix 1439. Now playing A Man Who Lives Alone Without Girlfriend, Denzel Washington. Motivation, motivation paradox, 462K views 1 month ago, 647 VPH, greater than 100x, remix 3545. Now playing Priyajan Ki Mrityu. Priyajan Ki Mrityu, Pachan Osho. On Death Antar Yatra, 25K views 6 days ago, 150 PH greater than 100x, remix new 2936. Now playing This Is Why She Still Thinks About You. Stoicism, Stoic Legend, 2.5K views 2 days ago, 29 VPH 0.8x, remix new 2140. Now playing If a Woman Tells You These 7 Things, Walk Away From Her. Stoicism, Stoic Horizon, 122 views 3 hours ago, 41 by PH remix new 4433. Now playing This Is the Moment They Fear They've Lost You Forever. Stoic Guide Powerful. Stoic Motivation 572 views 8 days ago. Remix How to Outsmart Anyone Without Saying a Word. Nietzsche. Syphoria 578K views 1 month ago. 364. VPH 16X remix. Why you should never trust anyone with your personal life? Stoic Philosophy Wisdom, Soul 5.7K views 2 months ago, 3 VPH 18X remix. She broke the silence, now what? Most men fail here. Stoicism Stoic, Pish 2.3K views 1 day ago, 83 VPH 24X remix new. She regrets losing you, but her ego won't admit it. Stoicism, Stoic Legend, 5.2K views 19 hours ago, 266 VPH 2.5X, remix new. The Magic of Surrender, Why Everything Comes to You When You Give Up Stoic. Saga 40K views 1 month ago, 25 VPH 6.5X remix 8 Things Men Should Never Do with Women. Stoicism, Motivation Success Hub, 327,000 views 3 months ago, 114 views per hour, greater than 100 times. Remix What Did Hamid Mir Say? Arnab Goswami, caught in heated argument on live show. Geo News 107K, views 1 hour ago, 87.4K, VPH 67s, Remix News 7. Mga katangian ng babae, Stoic Men Master, and Relationship Control, Elevate with Stoicism. 2K views 7 hours ago, 294. VPH 35. X Remix New.